Link engaged.
Visit us at TeamSpeak.com.
All right, guys, welcome back once again. This is CatsPajamas and Orb here for take 2 of this game number 3 of the finals of the TeamSpeak TL Open number 21. Here at the 6 o'clock position, we have Evil Genius's EG.IdrA spawning as our Green Zerg player. His opponent here at the 12 o'clock position from Team SCV Life is Heart, spawning as our Teal Terran.
You know, it's possible we're having more technical difficulties. I was just watching the stream on my other screen while I'm watching. We're actually like 40 seconds behind in the stream. I think
he accidentally fast-forwarded.
Yeah, he was on like 8 times or something, so I'm not sure. We are pretty far behind in this.
It looks like he says just try to catch up, so I am going to do so.
Sounds good.
Yes, all right, so we're skipping that first boring minute or two of the game anyway, where no one wants to talk about anything, so...
Yeah, we are going to see the barracks first going down from Heart, so he's not going to go for any gas first this game. Doesn't want to actually get out those ridiculously early Hellions. Could conceivably still go for something like a Reactor Hellion expansion. But on a map like this on Metalopolis, the natural for the Zerg is right up against the wall. The gas geysers are up against the wall as well. It's very easy to create a good sim city since the hatchery is so close to the ramp that Hellions probably wouldn't be quite as effective as they would be on a map like, for example, Tal'Darim Altar.
Right.
Or Xel'Naga Caverns like we saw in the first game.
And it looks like EG.IdrA is going to go open with a 14 hatch once again. So something he tried to do in game number 1, which was a curious move on Xel'Naga Caverns. And this time around, though, spawning pool following at 15. So what is it, 15? Actually, that might have been another 14 pool. 14 hatch, 14 pool. Drone making its way up now for EG.IdrA. And TSLHeart, I am curious to see what he's going to do because he has a multitude of options available for him. But I think a lot of his game plan is going to revolve around relatively early aggression. He doesn't want to get in the situation where EG.IdrA is going to be able to cut off half the map and just starve him out or play the macro game against him.
Now, if I were EG.IdrA right now, I would be worried about the possibility of something like a Banshee Rush. I feel like even though Heart won that last game, he lost the first game, which was a macro game, cheese to win the second game with that proxy T-Rax. And if I were him, I would just feel like, he already went for some early Blue Flame Hellion play, went for some early Marine play. What else is Heart going to have up his sleeve? Well, maybe we'll see some type of early Banshee play or something. That's certainly what I'd be worried about if I were EG.IdrA. But, of course, he is going to be playing in the dark. He wasn't able to get that drone up into Heart's base, and it looks like it is just going to be another Reactor Hellion expansion here from Heart. Seems to really like this build.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to be curious to see how quickly EG.IdrA is able to get in and scout that. I don't believe he has any further drone scouts around, so he hasn't seen the barracks yet. He may just be assuming that play is going to be the case, but these overlords around the top left-hand side and bottom right-hand side are not going to get there quick enough for him to be able to drop down the Roach Warren in time. This reactor is about to finish, and our first Hellions are going to be making their way at EG.IdrA's base pretty quickly.
Yeah, he does already have a spawn, though, at the natural on the way. Is going to probably need a second one down below the natural if he wants to defend purely with spawns. But I don't think Heart's actually going to be able to do any damage with these early hounds. Just going to be able to use them, of course, as usual, to get that map control. EG.IdrA has been pretty well defended against the Hellions in the past, so I don't think he's going to be falling to this. But it will give Heart that ever so important map control. It will allow him to get some good scouting information as well. And it could also deny the third base. That is also one of the great uses of Hellions. If you can catch that drone leaving out to take an early third as a Zerg player, it can be very annoying to deal with, especially if you're relying on Lings and Spines to defend against Hellions. If you don't have those Roaches ready to go, all of a sudden you're not going to have that much of a response to actually deal with Hellions denying a third.
And we do indeed have that second spine crawler going down by the mineral line that you were referring to before. And it looks like TSLHeart not even going to push in at first, just taking control of the map, picking up Zerglings as he can. And that is actually the last map control Zergling that was sent out for EG.IdrA. The remainder of his forces, well, all 2 Zerglings worth, are sitting inside of his base at this time. So TSLHeart's going to be able to make his way through and possibly get some scouting information, but the spine crawlers are well positioned enough that he shouldn't be able to do too much significant damage.
This is a little bit of an interesting play. It looks like Heart is going at the Blue Flame right now, but he's still adding on the 2 additional barracks, so he's not going to transition into any mech play. He is going to still go up to Marines, so that suggests that he's just going to use these early Hellions with Blue Flame to be a little bit more effective against Zerglings, Banelings, and drones, and then switch into standard Marine tank play from there.
And looks like the Hellions are starting to be added down towards the 6 o'clock position. There's 3 Hellions in that group now. A 4th joining it here in just a bit. And he'll probably swap that back onto a reactor here momentarily. Oh, no, there we go. There are the The first Siege Tank is actually coming up at this. He just wants these blue flames for this first set and may decide to add on an additional factory in a bit whenever he does get this next expansion saturated. But otherwise, all quiet on the Western Front. Layer Tech coming up along with a Baneling Nest out of EG.IdrA, so nothing too out of the ordinary quite yet.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, is he just going to rush to Muta and use Banelings to defend, or is he actually going to use that lair just to get Baneling speed and stay on Zergling Baneling until he takes his third base? You know, those two differing styles all, of course, have their advantages and disadvantages, but if he does rush to Muta, he has to be very cognizant of any type of timing attack that can come from Heart. But look at that, Heart watching the natural of EG.IdrA with those blue from Hellions does actually allow one Zergling to escape from EG.IdrA. That is just going to go be killed at the Sanaga Tower. Thought maybe he was going to go get some scouting information. But Heart's doing a great job holding this map control. EG.IdrA can't move out. He can't go get any scouting. He's playing pretty much in the dark right now. He could sacrifice that Overlord at the natural of Heart, but it probably wouldn't be able to see that much information before it was killed anyways. Oh, but wow, he sneaks out a drone and starts the third hatchery right before Heart's Hellions move over to the right. So EG.IdrA actually completely ignoring the Hellions and able to get his third base up. That's going to be very beneficial for him, and Heart has still not scouted it.
Yep, but Heart actually did take out a pretty significant number of Zerglings there. First, EG.IdrA's positioning was pretty good. He was going to force those units down to the bottom right-hand corner by the Mank statue and flank with Banelings, but unfortunately wasn't able to pull it off, lost too many Zerglings in the process, and now has a Queen caught off of Creep, and TSLHeart is going to be happy to see this. At the very least, he's going to draw some Zerglings out unless that Queen can get back on. There it is. But like you said before, TSLHeart still has not seen that hatchery, and that is pretty big at this stage in the game.
Yeah, it's really huge. It looks like Heart might be gearing forward, force and attack. He's got a lot of Marines, a couple tanks here as well. Does have Siege Tech about to finish, so it looks like with that third tank popping out, he will be going forward for some aggression. And this is actually really good timing because EG.IdrA is rushing up to Spire. He is rushing up to Mutas right now, and unfortunately the Mutas are only just starting right now, so this timing actually might be just a little bit late by Heart, since he generally would want to be hitting right as the Mutas were starting as opposed to as they're going to be hatching. But we'll have to see if EG.IdrA is actually going to have enough units to deal with this. He doesn't have that many Banelings. He has Baneling speed on the way, but only 3 Banelings right now, so he might actually have a lot of trouble with the number of Marines Heart has with its army.
Yeah, this is a pretty scary push that's coming out of him, though. And if he can get the right flanker, at least come up behind the weaker Banelings and Zerglings there for a little while with the Hellions, he may be in a pretty good spot. There we go. The siege is actually coming down. TSLHeart starting to shell away at that hatchery, and the Banelings, Zerglings, and Mutalisks have not decided to move up yet. Here they go, but they run right into the Hellions at first, so not a lot of damage done by the Banelings or the Zerglings for that matter. TSLHeart completely cleans out that force, and he is going to be able to take down this third hatchery.
That was one of the most one-sided engagements I've seen in a very long time, CatsPajamas. It is not looking good for EG.IdrA right now. He just threw away his entire army in a very inefficient engagement. He just lost his third at the same time. Meanwhile, Heart didn't lose almost any of his army. Now, he could move in and try to be aggressive still here, but it might even be a good idea to just move back. I mean, he already denied a Zerg third. He's already way ahead in this game. He definitely doesn't want to lose this army, but look at EG.IdrA using these Zerglings and Mutas to pick off reinforcements in the center of the map of Heart. A very, very good tactic. Can definitely help him deal with this army a lot easier if he had to deal with those reinforcements getting there. Of course, Marines get stronger and stronger as you get more and more of them together. Same thing, of course, with Siege Tanks with that splash damage. So will help him out quite a bit, but I'm still not sure he's going to have enough units to deal with that many Marines for Heart. He's engaging with his Mutas right now, but he is forced to fall back.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he lost. I think he got a couple of them that were red barred there, but I don't know if he lost a Muta from some miracle, the AI targeting a few different Mutas, a couple of different points in time, but he is in danger of losing this macro hatch. Here come the Zerglings in one more time. The Zerglings go down very quickly once again. The Mutas are all that remain, but they are enough to pick off the rest of those Marines, so EG.IdrA will be able to clean up this as he expands to the gold. So trying to do something drastic to make his way back into this economically, as TSLHeart has done a pretty good job killing that third. Yeah.
He was at 1,200 minerals before we saw those 38 Zerglings just started. So, yeah, he was actually falling pretty far behind on his macro, being only on those 2 hatcheries. So he's going to go ahead and take that third at the gold. I would actually recommend, taking the fourth as well. And he is going to go take that fourth base now that I say that, almost as if he's listening to me, even though it's a replay. But the Muta's going to come into the main and be aggressive. Now, EG.IdrA, this is exactly what he needs to get back in this game. He took a lot of damage. He lost his third, but he was able to clean up the rest of the army from Heart there in that engagement. Now he's able to come forward, do some aggression. He's picking off units. He's picking off add-ons. He's picking off medevacs. He's doing exactly what he needs to do right now while he double expands. All he has to do right now is keep Heart contained while he double expands and gets them droned up.
We have a drop at the bottom, though. We have a drop at the bottom, and a bunch of units are stimming in, and they are going to be able to take out a number of drones. All the mining forced off there for IdrA. He is continuing to attack, though, with these Mutalisks, so he's going to try to answer damage with damage, finally pulling back those Mutas. These Marines, looks like they were stopped being controlled there for a little while. Hope they would pick off some sort of a tech structure. There we go. Looks like they're going to go after the spawning pool. IdrA going to be forced to respond. No, looks like he is just going to attack into the natural, and the tanks are unsieged. The tanks are unsieged, and those Zerglings are going to be able to make their way in.
Oh no, this is terrible for Heart. He unfortunately left those supply depots lowered, allowed all of the Zerglings to stream into his base. But that being said, the Marines are actually taking out most of the Mutas, but there are still 5 Mutas left, and that might not seem like that many, but he can take out every single one of these tanks completely freely right now, as there are not enough Marines to deal with this many Mutas. So nice engagement by IdrA, but he did throw away a lot of his army to do so, and in the main, that drop was still doing damage. It took out the spawning pool. It's still taking out drones. He's still trying to deal with it right now with these Mutas and Zerglings. But that being said, IdrA does have his 3rd and 4th base up, so he could be in a good position this game. He just really needs to get droned up pretty quickly here.
Yeah, very interesting back and forth there. The spawning pool did go down. It's only being restarted right now for IdrA, so he is limited to nothing but Mutalisk production at this time. We'll see if Heart decides to try and take advantage of that. IdrA does have his hatchery up at the gold, though, and he additionally has just finished one down at the bottom right-hand corner, reestablishing that 3rd that was taken out before. TSLHeart is in a pretty good spot, though. He's got a PF up with multiple missile turrets and a bunch of mules for his own 3rd, so his production has not really suffered all that bad. Kind of a crazy back and forth there. IdrA was able to clean up a lot of units, but he is kind of finding himself on the short end of the stick at the moment.
Yeah, despite not having the ability to make lings right now and only putting his minerals into drones, he's actually still behind on the harvester count. So despite being 4 base versus 3 base, he's only at 60 drones to the 68 SCVs of Heart. So Heart is looking fantastic in this game. On the macro front, IdrA might have a lot of trouble dealing with his force coming forward. And yes, he completely abandons the gold base. Just going to send those drones down to the bottom right base while he tries to build up enough of an army to deal with this. But his army count is so far behind right now. If you look at the army supplies, 66 to 50 right now. He just doesn't have the bandings he needs either to deal with that many Marines. He's trying to morph in some right now, but he's certainly fighting an uphill battle.
There we finally have a number of Zerglings coming out, and I believe there's still some larvae on the field. The only reason he's not producing more is because he is supply blocked, so IdrA does manage to make a couple more Overlords there. Actually, both players supply blocked at this time. We see 3 emergency supply depots coming up now for TSLHeart. Was a little bit worried about his attack. Forgot to macro back up at his base for a little while, but here we have, once again, another base denied out of IdrA. Looks like Heart is going to continue to try and press his advantage. May catch a few Mutas. No, the Mutas do manage to get themselves away.
This infantry is also at 1-1. Unfortunately, IdrA's ground units at 0-0. His Mutas are at 1-0 with 2-0 on the way, but I mean, that's going to firmly put him way behind on the upgrade front. And look at this, he's going to come forward and be aggressive on the 4th. Another base denied from IdrA. He is forced to be even on bases with Heart, down on Harvesters still, 61 to 71, and he's just falling further and further behind this game. This force, he might be able to catch it off guard while it's unsieged right now, though. He's bringing a lot of Zerglings and Banelings. I don't know if Heart's going to get it. He does siege up one of the tanks. He needs to get the other 2 sieged up, though. Here come the Zerglings. He can do so much damage. The Banelings get target fired. Oh, beautiful target fires on those Banelings are actually going to save these Marines from Heart and win this engagement. And there's the rage quit from IdrA.
Oh, wow. Those Banelings were just obliterated. For a second there, it looked like IdrA was going to be able to do pretty well, but all those units were forced through a tiny little choke, and those Marines were just happy to see all those units come at them as they chewed them up. So very well played out of TSLHeart, being everywhere across the map, timely drops, denying bases everywhere, and just generally being pesky. Unfortunately, IdrA not able to come back in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, he was behind there, and he was already behind when that engagement started, but I keep talking about this when I cast the Korean Weeklies as well. It's like I need to come up with like some kind of catchphrase or something. So many of these Zerg players just keep, like, they send their entire army in from one angle, attack, move. Heart had beautiful positioning there. Granted, some of his tanks weren't sieged up at the start of the battle, but he was on that ramp. A lot of his tanks were well defended, as well as the Marines. All the Banelings funneled in through that tiny little choke point between the ramp and the tank. And TSLHeart had some really good target firing with those tanks that killed all the Banelings before a single one could get to those Marines. So perhaps if IdrA had sent in, some of his units from his 3rd base down there at the bottom right, and the rest of the units from the top, might have been in a better position there, but unfortunately sending his entire army in there from one angle was not too effective, and having already been behind in that game, it was going to just put him even farther behind. So that was GG. We're going to be at 2-1 in favor of Heart. So it is still looking good for the Korean Hope in this tournament. That being said, if you're rooting for the last American Hope, IdrA, in this game, Well, you better hope for a comeback because we're in a best of 5 right now. All Heart has to do is win this next game. Can he do it and take a 3-1 victory over EG.IdrA, or is EG.IdrA actually going to be able to come back and win this best of 5 match? We'll find out after this quick commercial break.